Okay, so hey everybody, welcome back. This is Brett Hedlock, TN Artist. So here we go for stage 4 of the painting process. So quick disclosure, I actually did this a day and a half ago, and just now having time to kind of speed it up and put the voiceover to it. So hopefully you're enjoying these. I know I've been really enjoying how it's pushing me to do more things and try to get this project finished up. Like I said, I'm trying to hopefully make a portfolio piece, but wanted to kind of pick up where we left off a little bit and add some stuff to it. So obviously need to give this guy some eyeballs. So that's kind of where I'm thinking about starting right now. This is one of the spots where I add another layer. So, and the main reason is just because eyes, trying to get them to not be all derpy and look like they're actually facing the same direction and everything else. I needed to have the flexibility to transform, and Rebelle has a very limited transform palette. So that's what I'm doing here, which is kind of interesting to go back and watch myself do it in sped up time. But yeah, so I wanted to lay in the pupils and get that process started so I could really get it to where I liked it. So it's always interesting to kind of look back and go, okay, is it actually looking, or is one eye cockeyed? I think these are pretty straight on. At least I think the finished product definitely is. I can't remember if I go back and edit this anymore for these eyes, but I think I've pretty much got it where I want it, because I know I was going to be messing around with it a little bit here to try and get the look of the iris and everything else set in the pupils. So that's what I'm doing here. It's just kind of trying to start that whole process. It's really funny too. I love drawing eyes, and I've always loved drawing them and messing around with them. It's one of my go-to doodles is to make realistic looking eyes. But it's funny when I go into paint in Rebelle or Photoshop even, or Artrage, for whatever reason, when I do it digitally, I think I overthink it and kind of get stuck in it. So I was trying to make myself not do that here, and instead just really play around with the gradations, get it done, and move on. And so that's kind of what I was trying to do here, is really, like I said, get it, get out. So what are your thoughts when it comes to drawing eyes? Do you struggle with it? Do you have a good time doing it? I started doing that one anatomy series for putting on here. Didn't really seem like it got much traction from anybody as far as watching it, so I just kind of didn't worry about it. I did some more studies for myself, but I didn't really record them and put them up on here. But I think these are working out pretty good. And one of the nice things is that you can take stuff like the ink pen, turn down the water all the way, and then start playing around with the look of it to kind of scratch in some texture and so forth. But knowing that I'm going to zoom this back out and have it that way is really, I didn't want to overly spend time on it. And the other thing too is that with eyes, when it comes to a painting, you can have them almost be too realistic and almost be too perfect, quote unquote. And so you got to be careful with that. Like if I'd stayed right here, this looks kind of cool like this and all, but does it fit the painting overall? And that was kind of what I needed to look for, especially since I'm thinking about adding in color and everything else. And so you got to kind of play around with where the eyelids and stuff like that, and again make sure that everything kind of cohesively goes together. So then I got to where I pretty much liked it, and back down to one layer I go. So again, trying to stay on as few layers as possible. So, but he looks like he's starting to come together. Still looks kind of like a ghost, but definitely getting there and starting to have that more coming together look to it. But still a lot more to go. So, like I said, I hope you guys are getting something out of this and enjoying it. I really am. I was talking with a friend of mine again. He was showing me one of the projects he's doing. He said this has kind of helped him to keep pushing forward and stuff too. And it's kind of cool to see somebody that you went to school with and you hung out with and you guys did art together, to see them kind of picking it back up. So it's been a nice thing. So, and he has a really cool style. I think I've always liked his style. It's almost like an anime or ElfQuest kind of look to it. If you don't know what that is, look that up. but a neat style nonetheless. So again, here I've gone to another layer. I don't know if you noticed or not, but and that's really kind of a good way to do it once you get to this point where you're starting to add in color and wanting to play around. It gives you the ability, and this is where, again, take full advantage of digital versus analog for doing painting, is that you can play around with color, and then you can do things like multiply or overlay or whatever and see how you like it. I liked it like this. I did it to multiply, and this was kind of an interesting thing. When I merged it down, I was not expecting it to change like it did, and it actually changed the look and the texture, but I liked it. So I just decided to reproduce it all over the place, and for the helmet, because it really kind of pulled all those colors together for the metal. And again, this isn't a chrome metal, it's just more of a metal, and trying to get it to look the way I want it. But this was one of those, again, happy accidents. Thanks, Bob Ross. But I started messing around with it and did the acrylic and then blended it, and then kind of went back and shaped it with the eraser and went to multiply, made it dark, which I kind of liked. I thought it was cool. But then after that, I could go ahead and lower down. Now, what I wanted to do here was pull out these highlights. I didn't want those to disappear, because if you noticed on the other one that I lowered, the highlights I had there kind of disappeared. So I wanted to make sure and keep all this detail, but I could kind of plan for the way it was going to darken it when it comes down. So now all I'm doing is trying to sculpt out, if you will, the highlights so that they stay in there. And but yet I keep that gradation for when it flattens out. And you'll see what I mean here in a second when it flattens down. But all I'm doing here is eraser tool and just erasing it out for what I want to stay in there, and cleaning up some of the edges and stuff. And like I said, you'll see once I merge it down how it changes. And I just really liked it. I thought it was kind of a cool effect. And it's a great way to kind of play around with it. It was one of those things I was not expecting the program to do it. I wasn't expecting it to change like it did. And when it did, it was like, all right, kind of like it. Let's go with it. All right, so just about got it all sculpted out. Here we go. Watch. Boom. Look at that. It kept the highlights. Changed it. Did find out there's a couple things I wanted to change. So again, undo, go back, tweak it, and then I can lower it again. But it kind of flattened it out too much, so I wanted to make sure and kind of break up the texture a little bit so the stuff underneath would show. So there we go. And see, it almost gives it that hammered metal look almost instantly. And I was like, all right, I really like this. Game on, let's play. So, and really all I'm doing now is just rinse and repeat. It's like, this works. It ain't broke, don't fix it. So keep moving forward. It's kind of a fun thing. And it's one of the neat things too. This is the acrylic brush, and you can really get some interesting texture, painterly texture too, with that brush. And those are just the default brushes. I'm not changing any of the brushes here. I don't even think I've made a single custom brush for Rebelle. You can, you absolutely can. I just haven't done so. I'm fine with the regular ones. So again, play around, multiply, and erase out the highlights and the textures. Make some happy little highlights here. Some good times. I miss Bob the Quaalude Ross. Of course, right now he might be having a different kind of happy accident if he was still around. You know, getting kind of old. Oh, looky there. Just had a happy little accident for the nurse to clean up. That's wrong. That's so wrong. I shouldn't say that about a guy that I really loved watching. Where's my little squirrel friend? Bada bing, bada boom. There's some more of that look. Still going back and using the blending tool because some of it was a little too harsh, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So I'm going to blend it out. just keep blending. So again, wanted to add some more texture because it got a little too smooth. So throwing in the old watercolor, checking water. So you just saw me click that. So that's what that eye tool does. It lets you see the water that's on the paper. I've paused the bleeding because if you don't pause it, you go back chasing it. And so by doing this, I can kind of throw on the different stuff that I want and then zoom out. Again, add in a little texture, unpause, get to where I like it, pause it again, and then either dry it or partially dry it. For that one, I think I dried it, but I still have it paused. So that's a neat little trick, because yeah, you got to really play around with the timing for the water bleed, because sometimes, especially if there's a lot of quote-unquote water on the paper, it'll bleed out fast, and so then you really are chasing it. But by being able to pause it and unpause it, you can really mess around with and control the look and the feel, and that's something I've been getting a little bit more comfortable with for doing. I think I did dry this, but I still have it paused for some reason. But yeah, again, going back and refining, it's like, okay, this wouldn't be there because you shouldn't have a highlight that goes down the whole thing, because that kind of kills the illusion of the raised metalworking. So it needed to be selective highlights. So that's what I'm doing there. It's kind of going in and playing with it and realize that I need to change this, need to change that. Tweak, tweak, tweak. So like I said, I really have enjoyed this. It's been a fun process. I'm learning a lot from it as I push myself to try new and different things and really play around with some of the different textures and stuff. I'm actually thinking about teaching a class on Skillshare, some painting stuff from the stuff I've been learning, and stuff I already knew, but kind of combining all those. But I've been taking a lot of classes too, both on Skillshare and Udemy, trying to find new things to push me and make me learn. Some of them have been really good. I might put links in there for them. I think actually I may be able to share a Skillshare link that you could get a discount for, like an affiliate link that you can get a discount for trying them out. So I may put that link down below, and then you can try it. And, hey, help me get a free month or two. But I wouldn't recommend it unless, I liked it. And, well, I like it. I've taken several classes, both art and otherwise. So one of the things I noticed here that I was doing, you may be noticing what I'm doing here, is I'm erasing it back because I realized that some of the metal wouldn't line up that way. And again, you got to jump back and forth and look at it, and that's what I'm doing here. So now, one of the things I realized, I need to start putting color. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm using the spatter brush, this watercolor brush, and I'm splattering in where highlights would be. He needed a little rouge, so I'm putting that on him, a little lipstick. But, cheeks are pink, nose tends to have pink and reddish colors in it, lips have reddish color, and then some of the other stuff that you need a blue to kind of push some of the other stuff back so it'll kind of blend in and be purplish. Because if you ever look at a face up close, it's not flesh colored, it's not, black, it's not brown, it's all these mixtures of colors. You've got greens and everything else. So then I put it in here and I let it start fading. By the way, make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit the little bell notification too. So then by going in and doing this on a different layer, I can let it blend and fade. It gets that texture. I put it to overlay, so then it keeps the colors that are underneath. And then from there, I can go in and start really softening it and blending it out to get more of the look that I want for it laying on top of it. And it gives it a broken up, modeled kind of look, not just a airbrushed kind of pasty thing to it, but it really kind of keeps that painterly look to it. And again, I can hit the water, pause it, unpause it, let it run, dry it, and so forth. So what I'm doing here is, again, zooming in, taking a look at it, and saying, okay, how can I do this? So now I've flattened it out, but I didn't like it, so I unflattened it. And I'm taking a look, saying, okay, where can I push some of the different colors? Where can I add some more blue? Because there's always going to be more of a shadow and stuff around the eyes, the cheeks and stuff as that fades in. And it's going to have some of that purplish colors and so forth. So again, I'm trying to throw that texture on it pause it, unpause it, pause it again, lay in some more color, and let it start keep building up. And so that's really what this part right now is going to do. Change up the beard a little bit and give it a little different color. And again, by throwing the splatter brush in, it really, see, it just breaks it up and it gives it a much more natural looking thing. And then I can go with the blending brush and soften edges that I need to be softened. But at the same time, I've still got that just, again, another little hint of texture and another little hint of layering that I really dig about it. And Rebelle, that's one of the advantages it has. It can kind of help some of that process, when it comes to that. So what I'm doing here is I realized that this part, which was done earlier when I was testing some of the colors, is kind of, I don't like the texture contrast. You can see it's really too smoothed out. So what I'm doing is trying to go back and pull some of that texture back into it, so it seats a little better and looks a little more closely aligned with everything else. And I noticed this one over here too. But that's one of those things, again, if I wasn't working on one layer, then it wouldn't be an issue. I could just go back to that layer and do it. So, working in layers has its advantages. It has its disadvantages. It all comes down to personal preference and style. It comes down to your computer, how much it can handle working in layers and processing it. It comes down to a lot of different things. So what I'm doing here, again, is playing around with the textures and playing around with building in that skin. But I needed to add in more stuff to it to get that look that I wanted. And again, playing around and being like, nope, don't like that, yep, like that, don't like that. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, is just very softly playing with the different amount of water and then changing the layer. That one I went back to overlay. Overlay is great, by the way. If you're doing highlights, you can set it on overlay and it really gives a nice subtle highlight to everything. It's a great way to do it. And then you can use multiply for shadows. There is a spot here that I've just realized that I was kind of ignoring. I'm curious if anybody knows what it is. Be interested to see. Hey, put a comment below if you see what area I just ignored that I should have covered. I'll give you a hint. It's a pretty prominent feature is what it is. It's a it's a pretty prominent feature. So yeah, trying to play around again with the look that I like and getting the textures that I like. So that's kind of where this one's stopping. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have found it useful and you've learned something from my ramblings here and can kind of see where we're taking it. And so I'll keep pushing on it, and leave me a comment and let me know what you think so far. Thanks.